Hello and welcome to Rehab Review. My name is Tom, and on this show I review and analyze recent research about rehabilitation in musculoskeletal or sports to expand our knowledge, improve our clinical reasoning, and inspire our clinical practice. Today we're checking out an article about the IPPON program. So the authors here have developed an injury prevention program proposed for judo athletes. We're going to look at the interesting new method that they used to develop it, what the program ended up looking like, and then I'll give my analysis on what I think about this research. So let's get started. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Tom and I'm a chartered physiotherapist specializing in musculoskeletal and sports rehabilitation. You can read a little bit more about me here. Also, don't worry if you aren't a physiotherapist, this channel is for anyone who wants to learn about rehabilitation. So the article I'm reviewing today is called Systematic Development of an Injury Prevention Program for Judo Athletes, the IPPON program. So the reason I chose this study to review is because I think judo is a really interesting sport to work in. I worked in it over a period of 4 years and you get injuries all over the body. But despite that, it has a surprisingly small amount of research in it and very few injury prevention programs. Also, this study uses a new method to design their program called the knowledge transfer scheme. So I also wanted to learn a little bit about that, and it also inspired me to think about how would I go about designing a program and what system would I use to do that. So this is a study in English from the Netherlands done by Amber van Gerhardt et al., published in the British Journal of Sports and Exercise Medicine in September 2020. It describes the process of designing an injury prevention program for judo athletes in the judo setting to be used before their training, with the aim of reducing the risk of the most common injuries within the sport. They also presented their finished program in the article, so we're going to take a look at that, analyze it, see what we like, what we don't like, maybe what are the things that we change. Before we do that, I'm just going to give you a quick summary of what happened in the article so you understand what's happening. So after identifying that there was a gap in the research to develop a new program for judo, the authors decided to use this new methodology called the knowledge transfer scheme to develop something to solve that problem. So this is something relatively new. It works by using a bottom-up instead of a top-down approach. So basically what that means is that it involves the end users in the development of the product. So instead of doing a lot of research for several years, eventually producing an injury prevention program and then presenting it to the athletes and the coaches, this new methodology uses a bottom-up approach. So it involves the end users, the coaches, and all other stakeholders in the actual process of developing the program right from the beginning. So they described this process in 5 steps. The first step was coming up with a problem statement, what they wanted to solve. That's pretty standard for any program. The second step was the evidence description, where they looked at evidence already available to solve this problem. There wasn't too much that really existed. There were only 2 previous studies that had injury prevention programs in judo. But again, this is still a pretty normal step so far. Then came step number 3, which was the really unique part, the knowledge transfer group, where they made a 14-member team comprised of judo coaches, former Olympic athletes, sports physicians, an orthopedic surgeon, 2 kinesiologists, injury prevention specialists. Basically, it's a lot of different people involved in injury prevention at all different stages and in research as well. So this is a really diverse mix of people from different backgrounds within the judo training sphere. This group then brainstormed over 3 meetings of 2 hours about the considerations for designing the program. What are the barriers? How should it be structured? What exercises should be used? How long should it be? All these kind of practical elements. Step 4 was the product development. Now this is them actually choosing the exercises that will be in the final program, grouping them up, editing, sorting them out into different sections. I'm going to go through that in detail when I do the results section. And the 5th step in the development was evaluation of the intervention. So this is them just testing it out. In this study, they did a short 4-week test period, and then they made some adjustments to the program after that. So they did a little bit of tweaking. In a separate future study, they actually did a randomized control trial evaluating the effect of the program. I might cover that in a future episode. If you want to see me do an episode about that, leave a comment in the comment section down below. So let's get to the good stuff and talk about what the final program actually looked like. So in the end, they decided to split it up into 3 different sections. So the first section was called flexibility and agility. The second one was called balance and coordination, and the third section was called strength and stability. So each of these 3 sections had 12 exercises each, and the program was designed that the coach or whoever is leading the program would pick 4 from each section. So that's 12 exercises in total, and then that would be done over the course of around 10 to 15 minutes on the judo tatami in barefoot. So each session will comprise of 4 of the 12 exercises chosen. You could pick a different 4 each day, and that's going to add a little bit of variety into the program. So if you want to watch how all 36 of these exercises work, I'm going to leave a link to Amber's YouTube channel where all of them have been published. Okay, so let's check out section 1, which is agility and flexibility. So there's 6 upper body exercises and 6 lower limb ones. So we see in the top row, we've got some push-up and handstand work. The second row there, we've got a bit more rolling, going into like single leg stands. I really like exercise number 6, Stutton, where we're doing a backwards roll up into a push-up, getting that agility, but also sport specific, using your neck, using your rolling techniques, pushing through, getting that coordinated balance up into a handstand. I really enjoy exercises 7 and 8 as well, where you can see this rolling backwards and forwards into a single leg stand-up. So this is really cool because it's adding in an element of single leg stability and control. And then on the bottom row there, the last 3 exercises are related to the Uchimata throw, which is a traditional throw where you kind of end up in that single leg Romanian deadlift position, giving a sports specific stretch and also working on that single leg balance that you need when you do that throw. So let's take a look at the second section. So this is balance and coordination. And probably the thing you'll notice here is that there's a lot of quick movements going on. So I think this could actually also double as the cardio section. Maybe actually do it first to get your heart rate up, get that cardio element in that coaches like at the start of sessions. I really like the third exercise there, the Ouchi hop, because it's getting this single leg stability in. We're getting that strength as well. We've got the plyometric element of the single leg hop plus sticking the landing as well, with also the distraction of the other leg and trying to keep the arms straight. So there's a lot going on. So I really like this one. There's also some of the coordination ones as well. The balance foot salsa, where you can see she's keeping her arms straight, but she's rapidly alternating between touching her feet in front and behind her. So I really like this one as well. Again, a nice high cardio one that you could use in your warm up. And then in the middle row, we've got a lot of this partner work. So just doing some quick movements while also moving through shoulder range. I like exercise number 20, this partner foot salsa. I think that's something that athletes would really enjoy doing together, but it still feels relevant and useful to the sport as well. And the final section, number 3, strength and stability. So you can see in this top row, we've got a little bit of wheelbarrow work. So partners walking each other along. I have to admit, I do find the person who's walking the wheelbarrow is probably not active enough. So that's one of the problems I find with wheelbarrows if you use them as part of your warm-up or prehab program. But I do like this introduction of the games. You can see these 3 here where there's partner work, trying to pull and push each other in a plank position. I think athletes are going to find that really fun as well, and it is sport specific, this grappling to get advantage over the other athlete, to grab their lapel or their sleeve. And then we also have 3 versions of that in standing as well, so pushing, pulling and trying to get control of grip. And then these final 3 are quite unusual, this walking around with someone's weight on your back. So do you think you need to be a little bit careful with this, because that's quite a lot of weight to be putting through someone's back. But I can also see how this is going to be good for kind of core control, and then the person on top is having to control their shoulders as well. So definitely some really interesting looking things in this program. So let's get to the good stuff and actually give my analysis on the plan and what I thought about it. Overall, I really liked it. I thought there was a lot of really interesting sport specific exercises in here, a lot of movement, strength, coordination work that looked really specific to the type of strains that judoka athletes are experiencing when they're on the tatami mat. So I feel like this has been really well thought out, and I can see the collaboration here between the authors, the coaches and people who are very experienced in the sport of judo. I think that sports specific nature of the program will help with adherence, and I think that's one of the considerations that people making a program really need to consider is, how do I make this enjoyable so that people are actually going to do it? Because you can come up with the best program in the world, but if people don't actually end up doing your program, then it's not really worth it. So it's important to sell it not just as a way to stop injuries, but also something that's maybe a little bit fun and useful for improving your performance ability as well. Overall though, it's great to see some research being done in judo. Again, as I said earlier, there doesn't seem to be that much research within the judo sport. I'm not sure the exact reasoning for that. It could be as simple as funding, despite the fact that judo is a worldwide sport in many countries. I think it is generally a lot less funded than other sports. You need money to make research happen. We see the sports that do have a lot of money, football, baseball, tennis, they have got more research because they can afford to pay people to investigate how do we deal with some of these common injuries. So it is a bit surprising that at this point in time there are really only 3 injury prevention programs that have ever been suggested. Definitely more research is needed on how to reduce some of these big timeless injuries such as ACL tears. Another thing I really like about this program is that it's customizable. So you've got the 12 exercises in each section and you can pick the ones that you want. Some of the exercises are basically the same, but with slightly more difficult or easier versions. So I wouldn't say it's 12 completely different exercises in each section, but I do like the way that you can pick something different each time, and you can pick a level that's appropriate for who is in your training group at that time. So that's definitely an advantage, because I think the really generalized programs where they just say, here's 6 exercises, do these for the rest of your life, it's not particularly inspiring. It's going to get boring after a while. There's no progression in it. You don't feel like you're started off at one level and you're moving up, which I think is really important to give a sense of this has a purpose. We're taking you from one level and we're improving you to be even stronger. I did think of a couple of the groupings were maybe named a little bit incorrect. The first section, flexibility and agility, I felt like quite a few of those exercises were actually more like strength and stability ones, particularly the rolling into a single leg stand-up. That single leg stand-up requires a lot of strength and a lot of stability. So I understand why they're doing that, because they wanted 12 per section, but I don't think it needs to be that matchy. I think it would be okay if you had one section being a bit smaller and then the strength section being a little bit bigger. I don't think if they're different sizes that would throw people off too much. Now, of course, it's really easy for me to criticize afterwards. They've done amazing work here. And of course, anybody can come in when something's already complete and add on to it. And I think that is part of the purpose of research as well, is that we're not expecting this to be perfect the first time. I think these type of programs need to go through several drafts and iterations before they'll end up becoming like really good. This is the first draft. I think everyone now can look at this, add on to it, add in some new ideas, change a couple of things, and then make it even better, retest it, and just keep on improving until they find out what really works. So in terms of the presentation of the program on this sheet, I wonder, would it be better to do it on an app? Now, obviously doing something on an app has got its complications, like how do you write an app? I don't think it's the type of thing that people just intuitively know how to do. But yeah, I think if you do want to have that element of progression, an app would be the best, because you can have the exercise on the app and then you can have a little button that says make it easier, make it harder, and then the athletes or the coach, whoever's leading the program, can then progress through, and there can be a real sense of I am improving, I'm getting better. So I think technology would be a great way to do that, because you can store many videos on an app, whereas when you have a poster, you're quite limited in how you present it. And if you start adding in progressions, it gets a little bit more confusing. People start wondering, which one am I meant to do? Where do I start? Whereas with a video, you can say, try this. Is this too easy? Yes. Click the button and it takes you to the next exercise, which is even harder. So you can have it really specific to the athlete's ability if you can use technology. Now, maybe that's something they were planning in the future. They talked about showing videos to the athletes. I'm not sure if the videos they showed are the ones that Amber has on her channel, or if there were different ones. We don't want the athletes to be bored. We want them to be overloaded. If they're not overloaded, they're not going to get a strengthening effect. And we want to keep them on their toes, literally and figuratively. I also think if you're going to present the exercises onto a sheet, it should have 2 images, like a starting position and an ending position. I think it just makes it a little bit easier to visualize what actually happens in the exercises, especially some of these where you're going through quite a few movements. Reading a kind of description in text can be a little bit complicated. Now, obviously, again, the videos that they sent out could have clarified that, but if someone's only going to see the poster, having that 2 image style can really help to understand what the exercise is so that people are doing it correctly. You don't want people to end up doing something that's completely different. And then finally, about the sections, that middle section I said, which had some cardio elements, I would almost just put that first and just say do everything in it as a kind of cardio warm-up. Maybe add in a couple extra exercises so there's still a choice element. Maybe they choose 6 of 9 or something, and then maybe go into the strengthening ones and then maybe the partner ones. So there's lots of different ways to partition and section things up. Do you go by the aim of the exercise, strength, stability? You could go by upper body or lower body. You could go by partner work, solo work. There's so many different ways to split it up. I totally understand why they split it up by the goal of the exercise, because that's kind of teaching the athletes about what they're trying to develop in the program. So the other element of this study, which I thought was really interesting, is the knowledge transfer scheme, this new method that I talked about earlier about how to develop a program. And again, I really like this new methodology for designing injury prevention programs. I just like this aspect of including the stakeholders in the entire process. So instead of designing this amazing program and then bring it to the tatami and they say, well, this isn't barefoot, or my athletes can't do this, or they don't like it, you can kind of solve all those problems immediately rather than going through years or months of work and then finding out something that could have been quite obvious if you just spoke to the coach, if you just involve them in the initial process. I think it also means that you can get out these programs a little bit quicker. Instead of going through 2-3 years of preparation, you can kind of almost get into the actual program itself almost immediately. So I like that the results come sooner. They may not be perfect, but I still think you're actually getting something out there much quicker. But overall, I really enjoyed this program. I love the way that they designed it. I love what they came up with in the end. It felt really thought out with lots of cool ideas, and I love that involvement of the entire group coming together. If you're interested, I can have a look at the randomized control trial where they tested this study to see what the results of it are. Even if it didn't work, that's still useful information. Maybe they found that it worked a bit and they need to build on it. If you're interested in me checking out that research article, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Or if you've got any other interesting research articles that you think I should check out, you can also leave the name of the study in the comments. Don't leave a link because YouTube doesn't like links. It'll block your message. So just write the author and the name of the study down below and I'll check out the article and see if I think it's interesting or appropriate for the channel. If you enjoyed my research review today, please make sure that you subscribe. I'm going to try and start doing these as regularly as possible if people are enjoying them. Let me know what you thought about this research article. Did you read it yourself? Did you check out the program? What are the things that you liked and didn't like? And have you ever worked in judo yourself? What's your experience? Is there anything that they missed or that they could have added into this to make it even better? And did this article inspire anything? Did it make you think about anything in your clinical practice? Let me know any inspirations or thoughts that you had. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in another rehab review very soon. Goodbye.